Welcome aboard to this explainer. I'll be your host, and today we're unpacking Part 13 of the regulations for sailing, fishing, and other vessels. It's truly fascinating to see how dense legal texts actually create this vital, living framework for safety on the water. Understanding the law shouldn't feel like navigating in thick fog, right? So today, we're going to completely clear that up. Okay, let's dive into this. What exactly does it take to sail safely and legally? When you look at raw legislation, it can honestly feel like this endless ocean of impenetrable text. But we're going to map out how these very rules literally empower safe sailing. We'll see how everything from crew rights to cargo management is carefully, brilliantly structured to keep everybody safe, secure, and legally protected out there on the water. Think of this as our voyage plan for today. First, who follows these rules? Second, safety first at sea. Third, getting properly certified. Fourth, protecting the crew. And finally, number 5, inspections and enforcements. We're going to navigate this whole thing logically and safely together. Section 1. Who follows these rules? Let's treat this like the ship's manifest. So looking at Section 261, Part 13 applies to 3 main categories. We've got sailing vessels, fishing vessels, and coasting trade vessels under 15 net tonnage. Breaking it down like this just instantly removes the guesswork, doesn't it? You can see at first glance exactly who falls under this jurisdiction. Now, the central government can always direct other provisions to apply if they need to, but this right here, this is our core fleet. Time for a quick jargon buster. Coasting trade of India, as defined by the 1976 Maritime Zones Act, literally just means carrying goods or passengers between Indian ports, or performing services within India's maritime zones. Simple as that. If you're operating legally within Indian waters, moving stuff from one local port to another, this applies directly to you. Section 2. Safety first at sea. Preparing the ship. Now that we know exactly who's on board, let's talk about making the ship safe. Section 262 introduces us to some absolutely vital global standards, starting with the C-188 Convention. This is the 2007 International Labor Organization standard for work conditions in fishing. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it highlights India proactively aligning with global safety protocols. When the government prescribes safety fittings or appliances, they must take these international benchmarks into deep consideration. It's all about elevating onboard conditions to the absolute highest possible standard. Next up, we have the Cape Town Agreement. This is the 2012 international agreement dealing specifically with the safety of fishing vessels. Keeping these treaties visually separated makes it a lot easier to digest, right? The primary purpose here is establishing an unshakable global foundation for vessel safety that the central government then utilizes to shape our local rules. Finally, wrapping up our international jargon busting, we have STCWF. That stands for the 1995 International Convention on Standards of Training, Certification, and Watchkeeping for Fishing Vessel Personnel. The massive takeaway here is that the central government bases its rules for onboard safety, mandatory crew insurance, and apparatus directly on these gold standards. Literally, no vessel is legally allowed to proceed to sea without fully complying with them. Moving on to Section 3, Getting Properly Certified, Earning Your Stripes. Let's look at how a fisher actually gets legally recognized and empowered. The certification grades strictly depend on a fisher's station and the specific type of fishing operation. It's not a one-size-fits-all thing. These certificates of competency are officially granted by the central government, while all the training and assessments are closely supervised by the Director General. Earning the certificate means passing a formal exam. The Director General thoroughly approves the training institutes, ensuring that whether you're an Indian national or an approved foreign national, you have legitimately, officially earned your stripes to serve. Now, certificates can be suspended for false information or safety threats, but only after a fair hearing. So the crucial point is this. Section 269 isn't just about handing out punishments. If someone obtains a certificate through false info or acts in a way that poses a serious threat to life, property, or the environment, the government absolutely will step in. But that legally guaranteed, reasonable opportunity of being heard is the ultimate safeguard. It beautifully balances strict safety enforcement with fundamental fairness. Section 4. Protecting the crew, rights, and agreements. Let's shift our focus to the human element here and see how the law acts as an absolute shield for crew members. Your rights cannot be signed away. This is the absolute heart of Section 271. For a fisher, the right to wages and provisions begins the literal moment they start work, or at the time specified in their agreement, or simply by being present on board, basically whichever comes first. Plus, you absolutely cannot, by any agreement, forfeit your lien on the fishing vessel, nor can you be legally deprived of remedies to recover the wages you're rightfully owed. Look at this powerful quote from the legislation. Every agreement inconsistent with the provisions of this act shall be void. And this brilliantly illustrates that absolute shield we were just talking about. It really doesn't matter what piece of paper an owner or skipper tries to make a fisher sign. If it asks them to abandon their right to salvage or give up wages if the vessel is lost, that contract is completely null and void. The law stands way above any unfair contract. Now, Section 275 mandates what's called a crew statement. This has to include the fisher's name, their next of kin, all those protective agreement details, the exact wages payable, and the date their employment actually commenced. What's fantastic about this is that any change to the crew must be updated in this statement immediately, and a copy has to go to the shipping master as soon as possible. It's a foolproof way to guarantee every single person on board is formally accounted for at all times. Section 5, Inspections and Enforcement. Smooth sailing. Let's move to and see how this builds into the final phase of our voyage, which is ensuring ongoing everyday compliance. Let's look at a highly stressful scenario, jettisoning cargo. Say in an emergency, maybe due to just awful weather, a skipper is forced to throw cargo overboard. Section 276 handles this cleanly in 3 simple steps. Step 1, do this immediately upon arrival at port. Step 2, give notice with full particulars to the proper officer about exactly what was jettisoned and why. Step 3, that officer forthwith reports to the central government and might open a formal inquiry. So you see, the law provides a really clear, rational roadmap, even right after navigating a terrible storm. Under Section 277, we see a super clear boundary of what a proper officer can and cannot do. They totally have the authority to board at any reasonable time and thoroughly inspect the structure, equipment, cargo, and certificates. But look at the flip side. They are legally forbidden from unreasonably hindering the operation of the vessel or unreasonably delaying her voyage. It's such a brilliant balance of power. The officers are there to rigorously ensure safety, absolutely, but not to cause unnecessary friction for the hardworking crew and owners. To summarize the enforcement side of Sections 277 and 278, vessels lacking freeboard markings, those that are overloaded, or any vessel in an unseaworthy condition will be detained until made safe. No exceptions. Furthermore, if a vessel poses a threat to the security of Indian coasts or offshore installations, it is stopped in its tracks. Detention here is framed exactly as it should be. It's not an inconvenience, it is the ultimate safety net for protecting human life, coastal security, and safeguarding our environment. As we drop anchor on this explainer, I want to leave you with this provocative thought. With these robust rules in place, how will the future of safe sailing continue to evolve? The sea is always going to be unpredictable and wild, but as we've seen today, the law provides a remarkably sturdy vessel to help us navigate it. From crew rights to proper certifications and vital safety protocols, this legislation is a truly fascinating roadmap. Thank you so much for joining me on this voyage today. Keep learning, and I highly encourage you to dive even deeper into the empowering waters of maritime law.